The appeal. Adam, if you're ready.
All right, can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Well, hey, good evening, and I know that you have a big night tonight with respect to your budget workshop, so what I wanted to do is, part of our review process this year is to look at various different levy optimization opportunities on behalf of the town. A few meetings back, we came and did that presentation on the new property tax reform. And as you may recall, just as a refresher, there historically have been about 3 or 4 different types of appeal petitions that a town council can file if they have reason to petition for a larger levy for the incoming budget year beyond what the state provides as a normal max. Okay, so quick refresher for the public: the property tax revenue estimate for each budget year, in this case 2026, is largely actually set by the state of Indiana. It's a fixed amount that is able to sort of inflate, if you will, or kind of track inflation year to year, and that becomes the legal maximum amount of property tax that can be billed within a community, sort of regardless of if there's new construction or not. Okay, and for 2026, the maximum growth in the normal maximum levy is 4%. Okay, so that is what has been factored into the budgets. That's what you have. Your town's assessed value from 2026 to 2025 actually grew closer to 15%. So you're growing basically 3 times, almost 4 times faster from an assessed value perspective than what the state's allowing that property tax revenue to grow. So there are mechanisms to appeal that 4% to say, hey, we have our 3-year average growth has been sufficiently higher than the state's averages to merit that request. One of our parts of our engagement with the town this year was to sort of review and calculate that. We have done that. You do qualify for a pay 26 appeal. You mathematically qualify based on your 3-year growth factor, and the maximum appeal that we see is an additional $115,000 per year in property tax revenue. So that would be essentially 10% more property tax revenue next year than you otherwise would receive. And as a perpetual adjustment, meaning that it's added to your normal maximum levy, and for the future of the town, it can compound. These appeals are unique. I'll first start with the legislation this year actually terminates this appeal. So after December 31st, 2025, this appeal will no longer even be able to be requested. So effectively, this is the last year in which this type of appeal can apply for, and it's a qualification-based application. So the first step is, did you meet the growth criteria, and then do you follow through with the application? So that's sort of a high level of where we're at. What I would add as your advisor is, when we look at the kind of impacts of Senate Enrolled in Act 1, there are a variety of different things. You have new homestead credits coming into effect in 2026 that we talked about. Your budget is adjusting for. The first new deductions on properties are coming in 2026, and those actually just start in 2026. They ramp in. They basically 4 to 5x their severity by 2031. So each budget year between 2026 and 2031, we do expect additional sort of headwinds as a result of those new residential-based deductions coming in. Okay, so the appeal, to some extent, counteracts those moves. So that's something that you should just be considerate of. As far as an approval process, step 1 is, did you mathematically qualify and you cleared that hurdle? So you at least now can consider it. The second step, where most communities make a mistake, is they calculate it after the fact. There are certain criteria, one of which is you had to advertise on your Form 3 for the public hearing to contemplate such an appeal. That has been done. We've worked with your clerk treasurer. She's duly noticed that in both places. So again, that just allows it to continue down the process to eventually even make it to an agenda discussion. So you've noticed it, you've qualified. Now the question is, do you want the petition on your agenda? Okay. The petition itself is it's a pretty extensive application. They expanded it literally this year as well. It was 4 questions last year. It's both a mathematical approach and a need-based petition. So you qualify clearly for the growth. The next part of that is you have to explain why 4% is not enough next year. Okay? And explain why you would need more than just 4%. That's something that we would have to sort of work with, rely on your team to kind of find and identify budgetary priorities of the council that otherwise are unfundable or challenged as a result of this, and then submit a petition. You have to have you all approve a petition no later than October 21st, and then that, along with the application, gets submitted to the Department of Local Government Finance. This is a unique situation in that you all could unanimously approve it. You could have had it on your Form 3, you could have mathematically qualified, and the Department of Local Government, for some reason or another, has the right in state law to still deny you, all or in part. Okay? So this is a interesting process. I can tell you, with working with other units, rarely have I seen them get completely rejected based on this type of appeal. Because again, there is a mathematical criteria here. So there's usually a justification sort of implied with that level of growth. Where we have seen petitions get partially approved and or challenged would be if it was one-time costs. Again, these are a perpetual revenue adjustment, so they don't view sort of one-time capital vehicle type as a sort of marital item. The nature of the request has to be very definite, meaning it can't be like we just have higher costs of operating the town. It has to be very precise to additional employees, additional field work, et cetera, as a result of the growth. So the only other thing I'll say, and then I'll open it up, would be, we would think about this as, what's the nature of the growth? Your departments know that better than most. What I mean by that is, just because your assessed value went up 15%, that doesn't implicitly mean that your budgets are strained. Right? If there's no new properties, but everything just got appraised for more, there's really no strain in the servicing. It's just the values are higher, right? What we would encourage you to think about is that growth really permit driven? Is that new construction? Or is that expanded neighborhoods? Is that expanded service areas that would merit, road and street, public safety, other departments really being more strained, either now or in the future? And then separately, the property tax reform this year does change local income tax as well. So the other thing that I would just encourage you to be considerate of is where you think this council will be in 2027 with respect to a municipal income tax reenactment. That is about 8 times as impactful as this appeal. So just thinking from a fiscal strategy perspective, understanding there's multiple things being considered here. This is a $115,000 adjustment that you don't have. Your control is that you could move to submit the application, and we'll do our best to get as much of that as we possibly can. And then what we would encourage you to also be considering is that in the fall of 2027, make sure you have a game plan budgetarily to either reenact your own local income tax and or not reenact your own local income tax. As of today, that's about $890,000 worth of revenue that also needs to be have legislative fiscal actions on in the next couple of years. So threw a lot at you. Let me pause there and see if you have any questions.
So going back to the last part you were talking about,
Yeah.
if we, let's say we were to get approved for the additional levy,
Yeah.
does that preclude us from doing the local income tax at some point?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. I just, I think about it as like, you know, each of these actions have their own sort of gravity, right? And so I just wanted to be totally transparent there that between, if it's like, hey, we only get one, the one is eight times as impactful.
So would one have, to go back to a term that John used when we were talking about the wheel tax,
Yeah.
you know, double hitting, is that only going to be impactful for our residents? So if we did get the levy, the additional levy, and the income tax, it's totally borne by the residents?
That's correct, and it would only be, in both those cases, only be town of New Whiteland residents.
Okay.
Because the levy would be an adjustment to your, i.e. town of New Whiteland's levy, and then in this case, what we're talking about with the local income tax would be also a municipal specific New Whiteland local income tax.
And so when you said that this is the last year they're going to allow,
Yeah.
okay, if we were to get approved for whatever the amount, is it just for the 1 year, or once we get approved, it continues on until when?
Yeah. Yes, sir, it's the latter, and so it gets added to your, it essentially adjusts the normal maximum. So then next year, for your 2027 budget, assuming, let's just keep it simple, let's say the state comes up with the same 4% growth factor for 2027, next time, then this adjusted levy then becomes the base for 2027.
Okay.
Now, what I should qualify in there is, just so that you can think about it from a future council perspective as well, that is the max. The council can choose actually a 0 to that max each year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is unrelated, but since you're here, obviously we're talking about budget. Best I understood from the meeting we had last time and the other things I've read, it doesn't appear like SB 1's going to affect New Whiteland tremendously next year. But then I also read about other municipalities. You know, Greenwood expects to take $1 million hit.
Yeah.
Other municipalities seem to be much more impacted in the very first year, and I'm curious to know why that would be.
Well, the size of the levy matters. So, you know, Greenwood's levy, for example, is 20 times your levy.
Right.
So just by the sheer number volume difference, that would be
Be like us losing 50,000 is what you're
yeah,
saying.
exactly. So so relatively speaking, the other characteristic would be the types of properties. Year 1 of SB 1, specifically 2026, hits residential or occupied communities a little fast harder than commercially dominant or non-residential dominant. So when we think about like this, in 2026, you're fully phasing in the new homestead tax credit, which is a 10% statement credit on tax bills next year. Okay, so every owner-occupied house next year will automatically see a 10%, no less than a 10% reduction. That will be, I think we looked at it, you are, I got it right here, you're 63%, yeah, you're 63% of your certified net assessed value is in residential homestead. As a comparison, Barbersville is 90% residential homestead. So in their case, they have more exposure year 1 than you do because of that initial phase in of the homestead credit. Where you'll have sort of a boost there is that in 2027 through 2028, you'll see more of an impact relative to the non-homestead residents. That phases in from 6%, it doubles in 27, doubles it almost again by 2029. So all that to say, the characteristics of each municipality's tax base sort of matters there, and then there's the size of their levy as well.
Now, do you know, or Angela, do you know what we expect to lose as a result of SB 1 in
Yeah, I can
2026?
give you a specific number.
Yeah, I'd like to have that.
So, as it sits right now, if you do nothing, if you don't replace anything, you'd lose 100% of all local income tax, which is no less than $870,000 per year. And then your, if I just keep it simple here, hold on. Try and bear with me.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
I'm not able to pull it right now. I'm just gonna estimate, I can show Angela tomorrow where this comes from, but I'm gonna estimate about $100,000 in the new homestead credit, which would also be immediately applicable next year. That's a direct reduction in property tax revenue. So those two things alone, on an annual basis, is $900,000 per year.
But that's,
That's after lit, and that assumes you don't do any sort of replacement measures.
but that's after the 26, after 26, right?
That specifically would be 2028.
Okay.
So that's all the way at the other end.
Yeah, and SB1 actually has deductions that go out to 2031.
Right. Is there a
Biggest
way?
biggest impact felt by most communities is in 2028, because that's when lit goes to zero.
And that's really what I had understood. Are you able to say for us what the difference will be next year, the 26 budget year?
Yeah. I'll get you, so on the local income tax side, nothing really changes next year, so it actually increases. And then I can't pull what it's an Excel doc. I don't know if you have the Excel, but I can show you that homestead credit, I'm gonna guess, is $100,000 next year. So in other words, like a real direct new reduction in revenue of $100,000.
Okay.
Because 26 and 27 are really, you're gonna feel the squeeze on the property tax side as a result of that new homestead tax credit.
So if we were to apply for the levy and got approved,
Yeah.
we could at least for 26 offset that difference without doing anything radical.
Correct.
Okay. So what would be our next step going forward if
So,
that's what the council wanted to do?
So I would say by consensus, we would just want sort of council direction to sort of prepare the documentation. We would need to work with staff, likely lead with respect to the narrative. We need to complete the petition no later than, we need to complete the application no later than October 21st. It has to be submitted electronically by that day or it turns into a pumpkin. Okay, so that's our date to submit. That is also that by that date, the council would have to adopt the petition as well, which it's a simple one-page resolution that says that you're, filing it. So that would be, when's your October meeting?
The first.
Okay, so at your October 1st meeting, we would want to try to have the application complete and have that petition ready for your decision. That would be the next step. And the application is not, like I said, it's just not a slam dunk. There's a lot of variables, but if you don't submit the application, it's an automatic no. If you submit the application, you have a chance.
So will the effect of this be, I think I was confused about this early on as well, the effect of this will be an actual property tax increase for everybody in town, correct?
Yeah, so there's, I'm going to tell you two answers because there's just two ways you can look at it. So right now, we keep it really simple. If your levy is $1 million and we increase it by 4% next year, it goes $1,040,000. Then, and you grew, your assessed value grew at 15%, your tax rate on the town side is going to go down. Okay, because your assessed value grew faster than the levy. The tax rate is, common misconception is that people think it's the tax rate times the assessed value So in this case, if the numerator is growing slower than the denominator, the rate is going to come down. So one sort of very like belt and suspenders answer would be that the petition raises the tax rate from what it otherwise would do. Okay, that's sort of, that's the very like conservative answer to say that it is essentially pushing the rate back up to what it is now as a result of the growth. If you go through the math, what's interesting is what it's trying to do is actually keep your tax rate exactly the same year over year, because the adjustment is equivalent to the AV growth. So it's trying to make it to where the town's tax rate this year is the exact same tax rate next year, even though there was much higher growth. So I have seen different council members kind of interpret that different ways. That is mathematically how it's handled. So from a if you get the appeal and pass it, your tax rate effectively stays exactly the same from 2025 to 2026. So from that perspective, looking back, there is no tax rate difference. When we're looking at it this way as kind of an either or, then it's certainly the tax rate would otherwise be lower but for the appeal.
So effectively, we'll all pay more, hard dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it nets out to you have a higher tax rate going out to a higher fee.
But if I understand correctly, and I think this is where a lot of us were way off when we were talking about putting 400 homes in, it's like, oh great, it's gonna be wonderful, we're gonna have all this money, and then you slap us around and said, no, you're not. Everybody's gonna pay the same amount, total amount for the town. If we add the 400 homes, they just become a part of that, and everybody's could go down a little bit because there's more people sharing the burden.
That's correct.
So in what John's asking then is, even if we get the extra levy, we're gonna get more money, but it could leave our taxes as property owners the same because there's more people sharing in the pot. Is that right, wrong?
Let me give you a couple of like mental pictures to help with that. One, let's just use the classic pie example, right? So right now, if new homes come in or leave, just to kind of stress the idea that the pie does not change. Okay, the pie is the quote unquote levy. It can grow by 4% next year unless you appeal it. So if you have more 400 new homes, then everyone's slice of the pie is smaller. Their slice of the bill is small. Okay. In this case, the appeal is effectively making the pie bigger. Okay? So there are certainly scenarios then that you could have, new construction, new growth that would still be sufficient to make the actual individual slices different, but I hope that pie analogy sort of helps. Mm-hmm. This is truly an expanding of the pie type application, and it is a way that you have to directly increase the amount of property tax revenue coming in at the unit in your boundary level, regardless if you had 400 more homes or not. So I would always encourage you to, think about like, are there service constraints? Are there specific kind of programs that you really want to tie this to? That's really what the narrative component is. There's 9 questions that we have to go through that sort of laboriously kind of talk through each of those. So we would really need very clear and specific kind of programs and priorities that you want to tie to this. And then assuming the council were to proceed and approve it, we would submit the application. It usually takes about 30 to 60 days for the state to review it. And about late December, early January, Angela and I would be getting on with the Department of Local Government Finance and working through their kind of findings, final questions. And if it's fully approved, the final decision will get usually like the first week of January. So we won't really know if those budget items tied to the petition are really authorized and good to go until we get that final state award.
So to go back with what you said earlier,
yeah.
Let's say we say tonight, okay, let's start the process. Yeah. Just because, like you said, if we don't do it, there's no opportunity.
Yeah.
We start the process, we get the application, we get approval for whatever, amount, and then we decide for some reason, kind of going back to what you're talking about, that everybody's piece of the pie is bigger than what we want them to have to handle. Just because we got approved, we don't have to do the full amount, or we could say, you know what, we've changed our mind and we walk away from it.
Yeah, that's
Kind of like what we did with the wheel tax. It was a great idea until it wasn't.
Yeah, really great question. I would say that, nobody is, up until we sign and submit the final budget order, you have a choice. So you could go through the process, you could adopt it, you could submit the application, you could get approved for all of it, and then up until that final go, no-go in January, you could, I believe, walk away from it, right? Because you're the petitioner, right? You just pull the petition. And then once you go through that point, though, if you certify it, it's going out in that area. Then what you would do is, if you said, hey, tax rates were higher than we wanted them to be, then in the 2027 budget, you would adjust, you would not take the max levy, you would work the levy back down under the max to sort of neutralize that. That would be the kind of fail-safe, where this time next year, you had a change of opinion for whatever reason, you could just choose to not adopt the maximum levy for 2027 and artificially bring it back down.
So, and I'm trying not to drag this out, but we've got decisions we have to make. Up until the point where we have to say go or no go,
Yeah.
will we see something concrete that says John Purdy's taxes are going to go up by $20 a year, or they're going to go up by $500 a year, to give us an idea? No, we're not doing that to them. Or, okay, $20 that's not even McDonald's anymore. So will we have a good concrete figure that we have to work with to give us some direction as far as what we want to do?
Yes, we could prepare a schedule for you all, and let's say, I think it's 3 cents per 100 in net assessed value. I think that's the actual appeal component, so 3 cents per 100. So if you have a $100,000 net assessed valuation, maybe a $200,000 or $250,000 property, you're looking at kind of 3 cents per 100 on that. But I'll prepare a site schedule for you all.
Okay.
Just so you can kind of see that. And that would assume that the full amount got approved.
Mm-hmm.
If they approve any partial, it would just be that percent less.
Okay. Other questions?
I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Is it possible that we do this, the pie, as you said, becomes bigger, but because everybody has new exemptions and new write-offs on their property value, that we end up in roughly the same spot?
I wouldn't say the same spot. You're making the pie bigger while the state's trying to make your pie smaller. So yes,
right,
there will be some degree that washes out, but if you don't make your pie bigger, the state's still
right,
making your pie smaller.
No, I get that. But you'll by January, when we have to make the final decision, you'll be able to help us walk through those numbers.
Yeah. I mean, the practical challenge, just in full transparency, is we won't have full certified. We won't have the tax district rates until like February, so we'll be past that. But we'll know specifically at the town rate. The budget certification process is unit level first. So we'll know in late December, early January, specifically what your tax rate would be. And if at any point you decide that that's not what you want to do, you could just pull the petition.
I think we need to at least go through the process. If we don't, we're gonna wind up this point next year and we're gonna be screwed. I mean,
yeah, I agree. We ought to at least look at it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked the question I did. Do we have to do it once we start? And if we don't, we're not out anything. I mean, we found out the same thing with the wheel tax. It was easy enough to pull that out. It didn't affect anybody. If this happens, then it happens. So I'll make a motion that we have Adam move forward with the appeal process, with the paperwork, and meet with whatever department heads or us, Angela, to get the questions answered. But we start the process.
I'll second that.
Okay? Did you get that? That was John Purdy. Other questions or comments before we move on? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 4 affirmative.
Very good. We will proceed. Do you have 2 meetings in October? No. Just the one, on
Yeah.
October 1st. Okay.
We can do like we did tonight. This is a special meeting if it's necessary before the 21st.
Okay.
If you need us to.
Yeah, we'll try to avoid that.
Okay.
Well, it'll just be if we can all get to consensus on the nature of the application by the 1st. So,
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Adam. If you need anything from us, let us know.
Thank you.
Okay. Angela, any other new business we need to go over before we do the budget? Chad?
No.
John? John? Joe? David? Matt? Nothing to talk to him. Okay, let's start with the fire department's budget. I think everybody has their forms. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, we're gonna start with the fire department. I do have a couple questions on some things that you have on here. Let's just start at the top, if that's okay. Okay, with, looks like the top 2 you're leaving the same. Carries is a pretty substantial increase for the fire marshal. How did you come up with that figure?
With the increased amount of time, you can put in way more than what we're currently paying for, basically. So we're trying to come up with a figure, so that came out to $1,000 a month. And we just, it was a round number, basically.
Okay.
To cover the additional time that we're putting in. And plus, there's no, the amount of certifications and everything he has to maintain. And he's doing a lot of response, full office hours, things like that too.
Okay. If we were to get questioned at some point, State Board of Accounts, we have to be able to justify. So do you have, I know it's volunteer, but do you have anything that shows the amount of time he's putting in or the new certifications he might have gotten just to cover what we're doing?
Yes. So whenever he's on duty or as fire marshal, he logs into our IM responding system, and it's so the hours are recorded. Plus he tracks number of new inspections he does, number of re-inspections, and other special visits that he does. He tracks all that as well.
Okay.
And we're moving towards an electronic system for him to use, which is actually on here as well, and that'll have everything recorded electronically that can be, reports can be generated.
Okay. Guys, don't leave me hanging out here by myself. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
Roughly how many hours would you say a week or a month is he putting in?
Well, Steve's gonna pull it up. But originally, we had asked him to do 40 hours per month is what we were asking for. He's definitely doing more than that. He's probably closer to 80 mark on average.
He's doing at least 12 a week right now.
So 48 a month minimum.
Yeah, I would say that's bare bones.
Okay.
And when he has bigger things, inspections, like the new construction out of the soccer field.
Mhm.
He was involved in that. There was a lot more time involved there was routine inspections that have to be done and everything. So it varies, it goes up and down depending on what the needs are.
Okay.
So 12 hours a week at $1,000 would be about $20.80 an hour.
It is, exactly. Honestly, for what he's doing, that's pretty light, honestly, for his qualifications and everything, so.
That 12-hour average right now, that's a little lower than normal,
Mhm.
because he is doing some extra work at IDTech. They're redoing their training program up there for fire science, and he's been involved enough with that, so. He
Okay.
has taken back a little bit. That's his primary job, so.
Okay. Other questions about that? Are we okay with leaving that? I mean, that's a pretty good explanation of, okay. Your paid standby, what are you changing there? I know it's different hours and different days, because that took a huge jump. So what are you adding to it?
So currently we have set up for 3 12-hour shifts and 1 8-hour shift per day. We're just we went to 4 12-hour shifts.
Okay,
And then increase the hourly rate to $17,
what is it now, 16?
16.
Okay.
It's been 16 for 3 years now, I think.
This is a dumb question, but these are firefighters that are in the fire department, in the building, if they're not out on the
Right,
road.
paid standby, so they have to be on station.
I have a question overall. Over the last couple of years, if we fund exactly what you've asked for, we've more than doubled the fire department budget in 2 years. That's a pretty significant growth, and I find myself questioning why. And I'm not arguing, I'm curious to hear the answer. We haven't seen anything that I would call explosive growth in the town, and I'm just curious to know, in 24 your budget was 267,000. This would be 576,000, so it's more than doubled in those 3 years, 3 budget years, I guess. And what raises a question in my mind, and I'm not arguing with the number, I'm curious to hear that. I don't know that I've heard the council say we really, really want to beef up the fire department in New Whiteland. So I think some of that, I'm guessing some of that's coming up from you rather than coming from us. And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that growth, and then the council in general on, do we feel like it needs to grow at that pace?
Well, I think, maybe I talked to John one time at the station, we were talking about this. Basically, it goes back to, if you go back to our budgets over, let's say, past 10 years, the rate increase, basically, long story short, there's a calculation on the amount of over that 10-year period and trying to bring it to where it should be. So basically, the rates, it was not being increased comparable to what operational costs actually were. So last year, we're basically trying to catch up. And as far as run load goes, 10 years ago, we so the run load has increased. As you guys know, gear is more expensive. A good portion of this is going towards the gear,
Sure.
turnout gear and everything like that.
And I'm really just looking at those, primarily that personnel line.
Yeah, we don't have as many people in town either. So the volunteer aspect is very, very difficult right now, because in order to have home response volunteers, they need to live in town. And we just don't have that. So we're having to bring in members from out of town, or at least, maybe Greenwood or something like that. But they're too far away to necessarily respond from home.
Right.
So in order to get them there and have them on station when the calls come in, they have to pay themselves.
Out of that 1,000 calls, for my education, how many of those are in New Whiteland and how many would be mutual aid? Just off the top of your head, just an estimate.
I'd say at least 80% of them are in town.
In town, okay, okay, and I know you put me on the Am I Responding last year, so I kind of see, I don't know what the runs are, but I see the frequency of them, so, yeah. And I guess maybe for the council, we really are significantly beefing up the fire department. I think we already have. This would take it another several notches up. Is that something we feel like we need to do? Or what's the, you know, I'm looking through all these budget lines, realizing, number one, I wasn't aware until Adam said it, that we'll have a 6-figure reduction next year if we don't do anything. Those reductions are gonna get bigger in the out year, a lot bigger in the out years. And, you know, what we do right now, 2 years from now, will be very difficult to roll back. It'll be very painful to roll it back. So again, I'm just not arguing with the need. I'm not arguing with the work you guys do. I'm just curious to know other folks' thoughts about the budget.
Well, one of the things that I don't have a comparison with this budget. What do other departments like in kind, our size of community, what are their expenditures? Because I find, you know, up and down through this, a 32.64% increase over last year. Seems pretty large. You know, and I can't judge whether it's large because I don't have anything to compare it to. You know, I don't know what the running budget would be for a town our size with the same kind of makeup that the our current force, or you know, firefighting force has.
Well, and I don't want to oversimplify by any stretch, but here's my pea brain thought process. There's certain things that we are going to have to talk about tonight that in my mind are priorities. Okay? If it's my house that's on fire, or my wife that needs somebody, whether it's police department, fire department, a lot of this is irrelevant as far as what the dollars are. We need our streets plowed. There's certain things that we have to make sure we're doing. And that's a great question. I don't know what other places our size do.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
NFPA
Steve.
1710, we are not an NFPA state, but Indiana OSHA will follow NFPA guidelines on the fire department. NFPA 1710 requires 4 firefighters per apparatus on an engine, on a truck, whatever. You can't have lower staffing by 1 person, so 3. So God forbid somebody gets killed in the line of duty, OSHA can come after because you're not meeting the standard.
And we know that. We've been through all that part, okay? But it still comes down to dollars and cents, okay? And you know, the one thing I want to make perfectly clear with this is I'm on the I am responding as well, okay? And I hear when the calls go out. One thing I can absolutely verify 100% is, let's go 2-3 years ago, sometimes we'd hear the sirens, sometimes we wouldn't, or we didn't know how long. I don't worry about that
We
anymore.
missed 2 runs yesterday.
There were usually within, but how many of those runs were stacked on top of each other?
Neither.
So,
They were spread out over the day because we had no staffing.
That was, one day we had no staffing, of course. But we have, mutual aid set up Whiteland for those reasons.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, I understand 100% what you're saying as far as getting volunteers from in town. Because everybody's just like we are. They've got outside jobs. Their kids are doing everything in the world. I mean, used to be 30 years ago, you'd have 50 people waiting to be reserve police officers. Not anymore. Same thing with fire department. You had people banging down the door. I want to be a firefighter. Not anymore. So I get why we're having to pay more and have people from outside that are willing to do it. But we also have to stay within the constraints of what the state tells us we have to spend. So that's kind of where where we have to, yeah, this is real important, or can you get by without this? So, I know what you're saying about the paid standby. And if we missed those runs simply because we didn't have the people on station, you just answered the question. Because what if Whiteland was busy? Okay, well, we'll fall back on White River or Bargersville. Well, you know, they may have their own stuff going on. Like I said before, if it's somebody at my house that needs your services, those dollars are irrelevant if you can't get there. So, I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did.
Right. Yeah, I wish there was a, you know, I put things out on Facebook all the time, you know, needing volunteers and all that.
Yeah, it's not like it was.
Do we know what the percentage of the total overall budget, this 32.64% is?
I bet Angela can tell you pretty close, because I know you had.
What's the question again? The increase?
Of our total overall budget, okay. What does that 32.64% of our budget, what's the percentage of that? Or what's the dollar amount of that?
Well, the difference is $141,000. Go right next to that 32.
Right, I've got that, but I don't know what percentage of the overall budget is.
That should be. There's a sheet that shows the total last year and this year entire budget.
Is that budget form 2? Is that what you're thinking?
Probably one of those.
You're asking what
No, that's
the fire department total budget compared to the dollar amount is. I think it's roughly 41. Or right around what, I think it's, was it 1.4 million was what the general fund budget was. And it's 576.84.
You said that was what percent?
If that 1.4 is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
1.3 is up.
1.367495.
Oh, that's the general budget.
Yeah.
Okay, I got what you're looking at. So that it's,
Do you have any other suggestion to maybe bring that down just a little bit? If we allow, and I hate to do this, if we allowed the hour extension, but ask them to stay at $16 or split the difference, we go $16.50. That's not a huge amount of difference either way, but it brings that down a little, but it still says thank you to them for being there.
Well, I definitely want to increase the hourly rate from 16.
Okay.
So, just so kind of circle back to what Don was asking. Three firefighters. So that line item budget for them, 460-ish, 460,000, something like that. So that's just kind of you were asking about comparison, and they're increasing their.
Well, I'm looking at
increasing their hourly rate.
total budget comparison.
Yeah, I mean, do you have that amount? I mean, they're probably getting ready to do the same thing. So do we have an idea of what their fire department's asking for their budget? Because we're not going to get a whole lot closer comparison-wise, size-wise,
Right.
if that makes sense.
I don't have those numbers, I just know that their pay rate is.
well, realistically, they've experienced significantly more growth than we have. There's a lot more houses, there's a lot of warehouses, there's more structures, there's more people. Well, maybe not more people yet, but they're certainly building in that direction. That was the nature of the question. The town hasn't grown significantly. This budget has grown significantly in the last 3 years. And what I'm looking for is the rationale behind it, and is that a rationale that the council backs? You know, you mentioned missing 2 runs yesterday. How common is that?
Just no staffing.
Right, but I mean, how often does that happen? Is that,
During the day, on the weekends, a lot. Nobody wants to work weekends, so it falls back on Dave and I. I mean, between the 3 of us, we do 700 hours a month, or between the 2 of us, sorry, we do 700 hours a month to fill in the gaps.
What would the, try to do some math real quick.
that's like every hour of every day of the month.
It is.
So one of you is there. Yeah, I got you.
I hardly take any days off.
Between you, I got what you're saying. Yeah,
one of
I
them's
got what you're
always
saying.
there.
Yeah, I got what you, okay. Took me a minute.
It's that new map.
No, and I'll just throw this out here. So we had a run probably a month ago, over off Tracy Road. If we wouldn't have had no staffing, that guy would not be alive today. Because the next incoming apparatus was 71s, but they were coming from Franklin, because they were at the grocery store. And thank God 3 cops showed up, started CPR, and he's alive because of everything we did, and walked out of the hospital. So staffing kind of does matter to me.
Sure.
As a-
Oh, yeah,
as
and
my
I-
dad.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing with it.
Right.
Yeah, let me ask this, okay, so the increase on the standby, is that going up to 17?
Yes,
It was
16 now.
Now, my question, okay, that's what I was following. My question is, $1 more an hour going to change the dilemma that you guys are talking about?
Yes, because we're one of the lowest paid departments.
But $1 an hour is going to change, I don't wanna work during days and I don't wanna work during weekends.
It absolutely could.
It's no guarantee, but the guys out there, they can go to Whiteland, work for 18, or Needham, work for right there at 17, 17.50 an hour. A lot of these younger guys, that's all they're, that's what they're interested in. So it just keeps us relevant, I guess.
If you know off the top of your head, what was your run total last year?
870 or something like that.
Okay, so you're gonna grow by,
We're 260 runs ahead of last year so far.
okay, that was my
And we still
question.
have 3 months left in the year.
Okay,
At the rate we're going, I'd say we'll probably be at about 300 runs ahead of last year. Which is, 10 years ago, that was our entire year, 300 runs, so.
So the 12
That's
hour,
where, like you said, I know we had a big increase 3 years ago, John, but if you go back and look prior to that, at our budgets, the increases were very small.
I was gonna say the answer maybe it was way too low back then, and I get that.
And that's the problem, that's why we put hours into figuring out percentages of, and everything a couple of years ago, when we did that big jump, and that's why.
Because everybody was leaving and just,
Yeah.
you couldn't keep
Well,
everybody.
We were just way behind. I mean, we were only paying like $8 or $9 an hour,
and we had 2 on for an 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, now we're going to 4 at a 12-hour shift. So yeah, that's a dramatic amount, but you're right, that's a lot of it.
Right.
Is we've added not only people, but we've added time to it as well.
I've got 2 other questions. One of them, what is Project Lifesaver?
Thank you.
So Project Lifesaver, it works with dementia patients and autistic children. So what it is and I always say it's an archaic tracking device. It is not GPS, it is not anything. It is literally a tracking device that they wear on their body that we can set a code to, and we can track them if they run away or get lost, or like the guy who's gone now. If he would have had Project Lifesaver, we'd have found him in 20 minutes. It increases their chance. It's a service we offer. We were getting our supplies for free from White River. They're going away from that. We have to do battery changes every 60 days. We have to replace the bands that we cut off because they're non-reusable. We have leather bands that we can use that are reusable, but kids tear them up. The tracking devices are almost $500 a piece. And nobody in the county charges for this service. It's a free to them. But what I have implemented is they get one tracking device and then they can take the next one.
The next one, repair and maintenance. We're at 87.88% of this year's budget. But yet we're wanting to increase by $10,000. Do we have some things that we're looking at that we believe are going to change from last year to next year?
Well, one of the reasons we held back on spending some of that is because we need to get some repairs done on engine 12. We just got those done. They came in less than we expected. So that's why we haven't spent as much of that as we thought. We do know next year, need tires on engine 12.
I'd love to know how much that's gonna cost.
They're roughly about $500 a piece.
Yeah.
That's way lower than I thought
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah.
It's just the tire.
I
It's
know.
not mounted and, yeah.
Times 6. So.
Oh, I was way over the ballpark on that one.
As
Yeah,
it
that-
sits currently, as of today, they've spent almost 50% of that line. with
Almost
the-
how much?
Almost 50% with the recent repairs.
Okay,
So
but
it's
there's-
increased. That was the June 30th amount.
Yeah, but we've only got 3 months left, and we're asking for a 10,000, almost a 50% increase, 40% increase. So I kind of, what do we see in the future that justifies an extra 10 grand when we're not going to hit, unless something catastrophic happens? I mean, even at $500 a tire, and let's throw another $100 on there to mount and balance, you're still under $4,000. That's still not going to put a huge dent in your 25,000. I mean, I could see if we need to bump a little, but 40%'s a little much.
The valve repair on engine 12 runs between $5,000 and $25,000, depending on the damage and how many valves. And however many valves they have to replace, they have to replace. Because if it fails pump test, we can't use it. And we can't argue with those prices because it's set by the mechanic who does our pump testing and everything.
How often are they pump tested?
Pump tested annually, every year.
That's
What did we have to do this year?
This year we squeaked by and we didn't have to do anything with engine 12. He replaced or he rebuilt 2 valves, which saved us quite a bit of money. But then engine 11 wound up having the entire DEF system had to be replaced. So that was almost $4,000 right there.
So, let me ask this question. The person who tests is also the person that repairs.
Yeah, he does pump testing and repair.
I think I know where you're going with this. It's a certified process that's.
He puts his name on the line on that.
He's
I understand, it just
He's not
still,
writing pass or fail on a piece of paper and saying here. It's a documented, like all the data is actually recorded for the testing.
yeah, that had nothing to do with the budget other than that doesn't sound right.
And by using this one individual, we're saving thousands of dollars.
Well, I'm sure that the whole process is legal.
Yes.
It just doesn't sound right in the concept of checks and balances.
I agree, but, I do a similar thing in my day job. I can do maintenance on a piece of equipment in a farm lab and then run the test on it. But everything is, I run all these tests to standards and all that data is recorded. So whether you run it or I run it, the results are the same. And that's kind of the same situation here. it's not something that's a fabricated test, it's a, you know, it's
It's
outlined-
turned into the state and
It's
everything.
outlined by this, you know, state requirements.
Okay, just for the sake of argument, because if we've got so much left over, I mean, I think there's things that we may be able to do this year with that. I'm gonna suggest we cut that 10,000 to 5,000. Give you a little bit of a cushion, because you've still got a lot of this year's budget left. And that way, if you do run into an issue with pump testing, you still got a little bit extra that you didn't have this year. Make that line 30,000 instead of 35.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, can do that.
Okay. How many of those Project Lifesaver bands do we have out?
Currently, I have 10 people.
Okay.
Last week I registered 4.
Okay.
So it's whoever calls me, we're responsible for Whiteland and New Whiteland, that's it.
You-
Council. I didn't do it that way. Sorry.
Okay. So do we solicit them or do they come to
They reach out
us?
A lot of times PD will go on runs from children who ran away and they start talking to them. And they're like, oh no, he's autistic. So they get him in touch with me and then we set up a time and meet with them and get them registered.
So how
It's
many
a
other
national
places?
database.
How many other places are doing this?
We do it, Trafalgar does it, White River does it, Barbersville does it, Franklin. I think I'm forgetting one. That's it in our county. Indianapolis Fire also does it, but they're on a different frequency than us.
Okay. That was one of my questions as well, John, because I didn't know what it was. Took care of that one. What's your big increase? I know you haven't used it yet because we're not through the end of the year, but your awards and promotion, you're wanting to, why are we bumping that up?
What were we increase that one, sorry?
Right underneath your repair and maintenance.
Went from, was it $500 increase?
Yeah, it's not a lot, but it's still,
Last year, we spent more than $2,000 just on the basic awards that we get and, renting the space that we rent.
okay,
We went to the event center over there in Whiteland and we ended up paying for, the food out of our own pockets for that.
okay, that's,
And I think it's an important event.
yeah, it is.
It is, yeah, it's good for morale.
Okay, you're adding 2 lieutenants?
That's the plan, yes.
What's the necessity to have 4 as opposed to 2 at that kind of expense?
Really comes down to, having them available to be our leaders during the day. You know, the lieutenants and captains are first line of leadership for for the firefighters on calls. And obviously, like all of us, they're not available all the time, so we're just trying to add capacity. The intent would be to, at some point, to those captains once they earn that right.
How many captains do we have? 2?
Yeah.
We have 2 spots, we currently don't have anyone in those spots. That's why that, line item has not been used this year.
Okay. The big one is a $51,000 vehicle.
So, we took that out of last year's budget to cut back. With the increased run load, we have restructured our response plans for sake of a simple term. And having 2 officer vehicles available, has greatly helped us mitigate our costs. This has been, Steve and I currently run the 2 vehicles that we have. The older Expedition is just, to put it simply, it's running out. It has no rocker panels left. It's very bad shape. So
It's a 2006.
we had talked about originally just getting rid of it, going to have it, but it's been way more efficient. So we would like to maintain that. The 10 down the road, trying to find, Steve's our division chief of operations. Also, we have a division chief for EMS. And the idea would be that the 3 of us would rotate who's on call, 2 at a time, to try to get one person to break it down. So that's kind of the plan we want to continue with.
That's a lot of money. I understand where you're going with it. My first inclination would be to take it out altogether. But if we find a way to leave it in, there's no guarantee that it's going to get purchased because it's going to be the same situation they've had and they've had. We'll leave it there. We don't even consider it until we're more than halfway through the year next year. And then if we don't get hit with circuit breaker or something else, then you come to us with a proposal of what you found, what it can be outfitted for, and we get it as inexpensively as possible without getting junk. Just my opinion. I'm open.
I can live with that. You know, given the nature of the increase, if we can have those parameters, yeah, I could say yes to that.
That still keeps you with your increase in your paid standby, which, like I said, my opinion, that's critical. I think it needs to be there. But it's a little give and take. And I think everybody's in agreement we can tolerate that. So, is there anything else that you guys see in there that you'd like to have addressed?
Let me ask a quick question about this, okay? Because we were talking about the paid standby, and you believe that $1 more will incentivize people to take those. What happens if Durango's not in there and there's $51,000, or because you're gonna need some stuff in there for machinery and that sort of thing. But what does $45,000 do if you put it in that pool? What does that raise the hourly rate to? And does that make it even more enticing for people to do paid standby? I'm just...
Oh, you mean moving that money to paid standby?
Mm-hmm.
That would take you closer to $20 an hour.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What's that put us
Yeah.
at, and does that then make us way more attractive to have paid standby?
I mean, I'm sure it would be more attractive, especially to the younger generation.
Well, here, okay,
But
I know where you're going with it, and I agree with it to a point, But here's what, if we say, okay, we're gonna shift that 51,000 to paid standby, that starts January. We don't have the cushion to say we're gonna sit on this 51,000 for a vehicle, and then if we found out in July that, oh, wait, they're pulling the rug out from under us, we've already committed that money.
Well, basically, kind of the same way as the Durango. Okay, we're not gonna know if it actually incentivizes or not. Just like the 17, we still don't know. So what's budgeted may not actually be what's expended.
Yeah, but I think if you throw that hourly, if we bump it up to, let's say, let's just use a round number, say $20. Okay, we start January, even the people that do respond are gonna get $20 an hour, which means we're spending that money that we were holding back till the middle of the year. And then if we spend that and the state comes in and says, sorry, circuit breaker, now you have to cut X amount of dollars. We spent that money that was gonna be saved to cut. Even if,
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
I get that.
Okay.
Did I also understand you've got a Durango and then the other vehicle that we have right now, we've got two and the other one's an 06? Or is the 06 a spare?
No, 06 is what I use every.
It's a daily driver.
Is that the one that says battalion chief on it? Okay, I thought it was.
That 06 may poop out in March.
Yeah, and we may not have.
My seat is that big.
What's that?
The cushion on my seat is that big. I'm not kidding. You can see the whole frame of the seat. In the passenger seat, if somebody.
You wanna use John's phone book?
Well, I mean.
I was gonna say, I've had cars like that.
Yeah.
And we're, like, there's a set of lights along the running board area that quit working. So I got underneath there to try to figure out what the problem is. And
It was all rusted.
everybody's gone, it's gone. Like the rocker panels, they're just completely gone, floorboards, everything, so.
That's
At
what-
some point, we're just gonna have to cut it loose, but.
Well,
was
it-
just a
it
spare
may
vehicle
die.
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's the day they're using it.
Well, I'm good
It
with the
was like,
original
Okay.
I think
proposal.
Angela, do you have the
Or something.
notes on the changes that are,
Yes, they moved, repair and maintenance from 35,000 to 30,000, and then on the vehicle, where they're gonna wait until the middle of the year.
at least mid-year?
And then those are the only changes I
Yes.
have.
For now, unless we see. Okay. You guys have anything else at all?
Good discussion.
Okay. Dave, anything else you guys would like to bring up?
We were just talking about another capital outlay that we have in there. We're willing to, as just kind of a compromise, go ahead and cut that in half. That was meant, we were gonna use that to get a grant writer, but we have found a grant writer that's willing to volunteer time.
Which line is that?
That's the very last one.
Last one, 452.
The other capital outlay,
Oh, that's at 10,000?
yeah.
Yeah, but you've spent 54% of it.
This year we did, yes.
So what are you wanting to move it to?
But we had, we didn't need, not for its original intended purpose, we had to move money to cover the
Okay.
issue we had.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so originally, we had that money in there for this year, because we were gonna bring in a grant writer, help us get some grants. We found one that was willing to help us.
Okay.
She does it on her own time, on everything that she's doing for,
So what's your proposed number?
willing to cut that back as a compromise.
Cut it in half? 5,000?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, that makes sense. It just, I was like, wow, we're already at half of the 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, since you brought up grants, one thing I want to caution everybody, because I've heard of this happening here lately. Please apply for any grants that you want, but they must come through us at least knowing that you're applying. That's always been the policy, because if you go apply for something and we don't know about it, we're supposed to sign for it. The council's supposed to sign for grant approval. And we just need to know that, hey, we applied for a grant. So just make sure that we're made aware of it, okay? That's for every department. That's always been the policy. And now because money's getting tighter and you guys are having to go out on your own, just make sure we know about it. You know, if you let Angela know, hey, put this on the agenda for next meeting that fire department applied for a grant for turnout gear. Just so that we're aware that it's there. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you. You guys have anything else for us?
Just to clarify, were you okay with the paid standby proposal?
I think at this point we are, yeah. Like I say, if push comes to shove and State Board of Accounts says, yeah, you thought this was funny, but it's not happening, then we're gonna have to revisit it, but, we'll try to make it work.
Okay,
All right?
all right.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Take a quick time out.
Potty break. Shut up. You're not going anywhere. You got a date?
Oh, is he next?
Yeah, we can drag this out all freaking
Can we go
night.
ahead and keep it going, and then I'll take a 20-minute potty break?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
You've been taking one all day. Huh? I did take one this afternoon.
Did you?
I did.
Man.
Oh, that was good, John. You should be proud of yourself.
Hey.
Unfortunately, we're being filmed now. Everybody's wondering what you just said to me.
Oh, why can't I not find yours? Revenue history. I just had it. I've lost your page.
It was actually right in front of the fire department. I don't know who. The person who collated this went just hog wild crazy
Yeah.
with the organizational structure of it.
And I think that your question of how much the fire department was asking, how much of it, what percentage was it of the total budget, is that what you were asking?
Yes.
I got 19.77%.
So we're
Of the total general,
Feel better?
I can carry on now.
that maybe he didn't know what I was asking. That's what I was asking.
Like one,
general fund, $2,000,000.
Oh, here we go.
I thought it was almost 1.4, so I was off on, that's what I said, if that 1.4 was what we were asking.
Yeah.
Okay, then I was completely, I used the wrong baseline number.
Okay.
Okay. You guys are welcome to stay if you want to. Please don't feel obligated. You've got other stuff you need to do. You do not have to stay. And
With that level of increase, they need to stay.
yeah, the money that you're getting, you're staying.
We want to support them since they.
Yeah, sure you do. Yeah.
Joe
Okay.
was sitting over there looking at me going,
Yeah, they didn't even say anything.
Okay.
I think it's important or not, I'm gonna just lay this stuff out.
Police department. Let's start with the first page, the salary requests. These are pretty cut and dry. He's right across the board with all but two. And I asked about those two. If you want to ask why there's a difference in two of them, feel free. But in the explanation I got, he did exactly what we've asked to do, is justify.
so what's the justification?
Okay, the justification is that we're 3% across the board on raises, okay? One person got a 1%. And what that is, that's based on performance evaluations that we do. This person we've had talks with to improve his performance. We brought him on shift on days to try to help him along. And while it did improve a little bit, it's still not quite there where we want it. So he didn't get the 3% like everybody else did. The other one is Deputy Chief Brooks. He got 5% where everybody else got 3 and 1, but that's because his performance is out there where it that's extremely, good. He takes an interest in the department, the community, he thinks ahead on things, stays up in the laws. He articulates, real well with the troops, the guys that's out in the trenches. He keeps me updated on certain things that he does. So he's really earned that, and he was below what I feel like he should have been at in the first place. So this just brings him up to snuff, and it also rewards him for doing an excellent job. I told John in the past, if you cut his veins open, he'd bleed you away. So I really and truly, I don't think he would bleed, but he's really dedicated to the community.
Looking at the quick math, that equates out still to 3% total within a few bucks.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've done what we've asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense that someone who's performed well ought to be eligible for a little more, and someone that frankly hasn't ought to get a message sent, and it sounds like that's what you're doing.
And that's precisely what this is.
Yeah, and again,
It's not being mean. It's
Oh,
just-
so, okay, I
No,
see
it's-
what you're
it's a
talking
fact.
about, John.
yeah, I just did the math quickly.
Yeah, the
It comes out-
department is still
within just a
3%.
couple
comes in within a few
He
bucks.
still
Yeah.
gets the 2% that the other guy didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redistribution, good.
You have on here for a new hire.
Yes, sir.
Are we replacing somebody?
No.
Not at this
it's new.
point?
It would be a 10th officer, and I think once we get that, I've asked for it before, and I'd like to get it midterm if I could, for the mere fact that the housing addition hasn't started yet. There's 433 homes, I believe it is, that we're gonna build. At least that's the number I've got. Is it right, Dwayne? Pretty close, yeah. 433? Yeah. You double that, you're looking at 866 people, not counting if they have kids. So we're gonna have a lot more runs generated than what we normally have right now.
Okay, I think we may be 2, 3, 4 years down the road before that's full, or even remotely close to full. So, I'm gonna throw the same thing out to you that I threw out to them as far as their extra vehicle. If we leave this in here for the second half of the year, and we don't see an appreciable, they built 3 homes up there by the end of next year. But I don't think that's a necessary person for them. Leave it there for the what if, but no guarantee that you're gonna get another person unless we find it's a necessity and oh my gosh. Same thing we asked the fire department. What's your run total? I mean, you're getting a lot more runs. Because one of the things you're going to run into that they don't run into, your group is getting a little older as far as time. Okay, and we ran into this in the past. You had people with 3, 4, 5 weeks vacation, and you're going to start running into that now because you've got a good crew now. And so they're accruing more time. They're going to be gone. And you got to have the bodies to fill the shifts. So that would be my request is it's there, but don't bank on it until we see what happens over there.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay? You guys good with that?
Where did we soak up Bob's salary?
I thought it came out of my department.
We just took it out.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah, it's not gone
We're
anywhere.
good.
So that could go to replace at some point.
Offsets.
But again, let's not commit to that until we get to the point where we have to. So salary-wise, I think you guys did a good job. I think everybody's happy with that. Let's go to, and if you look at the second page, John, that half of the compliance officer came out of the police department.
Okay.
And a lot of your stuff is the same. Until my first question came down to gasoline.
Okay,
And that's a, who knows?
I brought it down. I brought it down to 37,053. The reason it was so high when I first budgeted the gasoline was I didn't know what was gonna happen with the wars with Russia and Ukraine and then Israel.
We're still showing 53.
Yeah.
I know, but I need to bring it down to 37 is what I'm saying. I had it at 50,
Oh.
but I didn't bring it down.
Oh, I was gonna give you a little more, so.
That's gonna be 16,000, I'm saying.
Can I suggest we make it 40 if he hires that?
Yeah.
officer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do, you're okay for now. You've spent not quite half, but we don't know what prices are gonna do.
Correct.
So if we do 40, that's still giving back 13,000. And if you don't spend it, it's still there. Okay. Anybody else see anything glaring?
Curious on the vehicle, what vehicle do you plan to replace?
We got one that's got, is it 80?
We have a 91,000 mile and one that's just over 100,000. Oh, 2015.
So one of them is Officer Potee that's in there. He's our night shift officer. And what I do is, I've had the same car since 2017. So, I'm gonna get a new car, the guy that's got the highest mileage. Those are the guys that's in the trenches. Now, if I get one more car, I'm done. That will get me through the next few years of where I need to go. Then what I'm gonna do with the 2 cars that I have left over is get with Dwayne to put them on that municipal site to sell cars, you know, and bring back some money. We only get like $2,500 for the car. However, we can get more for them if we put them on those sites.
So, can we have that vehicle purchased like the fire department?
Oh, absolutely. One thing, here's what I would like you to do. If you've got an officer that needs a new vehicle, okay, how many miles does yours have on it?
93,000.
Yours does? Okay. But it's in good shape.
I'm not replacing one, yeah.
Okay. I would like you to pass yours down to somebody or make it a reserve car. And so you pass yours down. I've already got you taken care of.
If there's a said way back there, I'm not taking it. Bring the bicycle. Yours black over here.
Not quite, but we're pretty darn close there, buddy boy. There's a story behind this.
Now, how did you get that bike?
That's Whiteland.
The guy that you just gave the big raise to.
That's already approved. No take backs.
Okay, I need extra insurance because I'm gonna have to go to the hospital to get that little seat removed.
The story behind this.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing it.
I rode my bicycle over to the Proctor Park event this weekend and parked it in front of his police vehicle
Sore loser.
and asked him to keep an eye on it. I found it in the ditch.
Oh, yeah, that was your.
I made sure nobody got it, nobody looked for it.
Nobody could see it, right?
So just kind of a trade-off
He
here.
didn't even see it. Okay, good one, John, yeah. The deputy will, I'll delegate this.
I agree with John. I think it's,
Did that hurt?
what?
That you had to publicly announce that you were.
I know, it did. I think, again, this is gonna be one of those things that we gotta get past a certain point, because that is a lot of money. I do appreciate the fact that you cut down on what you had budgeted and what we spent on the last one. Cause you had 65 and cut it down by 8,000. But that's still a big expenditure.
Sure.
And if push comes to shove, at least we know that that's 57,000 that, okay, that's gonna help us, because with your 57 and your, what was it, 30 or 51, okay, if what Adam was saying tonight was correct and we could get hit for 100,000 next year, we just took care of it just by not replacing 2 vehicles. And it doesn't affect salaries, it doesn't affect people, because I think those are the things, at least in my opinion, that we want to be most mindful of. You know, we got people out there that work for us that still have families they have to provide for. And I don't want to go to an employee and say, sorry, we have to let you go because X department had to have a new vehicle. So, and just, if we can do that and make that a second half if we find it necessary. If you said something earlier that if you got this one, you could wait. What do you expect the time frame be? Okay, you're gonna come back to us when and say, I've got to replace a vehicle. At what point? How much time are we looking at?
We're doing this kind of like attrition. Once a vehicle is a safety factor for the officers out there. Because we drive those cars abnormal compared to the normal lays on out here. I'd say 3-4 years.
Okay. So,
This cars that's still good, I could put 55,000 on it.
mhm.
So that would get me through the next 3 or 4 years before I'd have to replace those.
Okay, so let's get halfway through this coming year through 26, and that housing development goes gangbusters, and there's 300 homes in there, and we're like, okay, we got to have another officer. Now where do we go? Where do we get a vehicle for that officer?
I got you, I understand.
Will you be able to pull out of your reserve fleet and still have a good enough vehicle that you're not putting that officer in a piece of junk? Or do we have to come back halfway through and we got to buy another car?
Well, the cars are in the reserve pool, I have got miles on them too.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got one car that we're not putting a whole lot of money in. We've debated on whether getting rid of it or if we're gonna keep it. The others have high mileage on them too. So they're good if they're not used every day in patrolling. However, they're good to use like on the weekends or once a week. So I guess to answer your question,
So I guess my question is, if we get halfway through the year and with us and you, we determine we have to have another officer, are we now looking at 2 vehicles?
no. We've got one vehicle. Excuse me. We got one vehicle that we could probably convert into one. This like top, how many miles? It's like 60.
Probably 160.
Okay. That we could use for that. We do have an extra radio. We've got an extra weapon. I mean, all we
Okay.
have to do is put.
So it-
uniforms.
Sorry to interrupt, but so instead of taking the vehicle and putting on gov deals, you keep that other vehicle.
For the reserves.
No. Okay. Forget your reserve vehicles now. How many vehicles do you have right now, not counting your reserves? 8 officers and 8 cars. 9. Okay.
9 and 9.
So you get a new vehicle halfway through the year just to replace one of those 9. Okay, and you sell one on gov deals. Now you hire a new officer. Where does the 10th car come from?
We've got a car that we can use if we don't sell it to the gov deal.
That was my question. Okay, so you would just keep one and not sell it.
Correct.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. I just didn't want to get halfway through and say, yeah, you can have a new guy, and then you come back and say, I got to have $80,000 for a car and equipment and all this stuff that we just don't have. Okay, cool. Other questions about the police budget?
I don't have
You don't? Chad?
No.
And I think I heard you say no. Okay.
So the only change is the gas is gonna be 40,000 and the vehicle we're waiting until mid-year.
The vehicle and the new officer
And then higher.
are both going to be second half at best.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Wait, we're almost back on.
One
What?
thing I need to say before we leave, I need to be on the agenda for the October meeting, which is October 1st.
Yes.
Okay, we spoke last month's meeting about the flock cameras. The only thing that is not in this budget, if we should go to them or consider them, would be another $7,000.
Okay. We just cut the money out of the gas, and I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you to do that. Those are must-have.
Can this is just a suggestion, but I always have in the admin budget 15,000
I mean,
Just so he
But you
doesn't
want 'em
have to
this year,
change
right?
his budget.
Well, I can wait until after January.
Okay.
do you have it in your budget somewhere this year to get them?
I might, if I get with her.
I
get-
have,
and
my
then-
other equipment has not been touched this year.
Okay, and, you know, I've heard people talk about these, but when you explained at the last meeting where you wanna put them and why you wanna put them, I was reading the article in the Journal the other day about the new roundabout that Whiteland's gonna put in at, Bob Glidden and Whiteland Road, and that's the first thing they said is gonna be there is flock cameras, because that's coming in and going out of town, okay? And if we can have them, now we're covering both sides with theirs and with ours. And I was gonna ask you, I'm glad you said that, because I was gonna ask if you,
Well, just so that you guys know, Chicago, last week there was a piece of paper about them, and they're getting free. And I don't understand how to do that, to get free on the 9,000. However, if that additional 3 that we get, that'll put us at 52 cameras that we have access to all over Johnson County.
yeah.
So it's a really good tool, and like I said last time, it's the best thing since DNA, it really is. And our missing man, that would help us better.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna suggest this to you, but in no way is it designed for the council to take it out of his budget for more of them. Johnson County Community Foundation, I told the same thing to the fire department. If you look at that, now only one entity from the municipality can apply.
Because we did the same thing, they applied, and we applied.
That's right. So, yes, that is correct, the Johnson County Community Foundation, I'm thinking of the guy that safety grant, which is the other one, through our workman's comp company, they have safety grants as well that you might be able to apply for. We've applied for it in the past and gotten a few things, cones and things like that.
Well, if
Okay.
it's okay with you guys, we'll investigate that and see what.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, anything we can do that we don't have to pull it,
We
but
don't have to commit to it, we can just find
Yeah.
out where
Yeah.
we're stand on.
thank you for offering up out of your budget. That's great.
So, if we can, if it's okay, still go ahead and get on the agenda for next, the next meeting? Or
Why?
this will have to be approved,
Why?
just asking.
I mean, if we have the funding, and I don't hear any objection to getting them, if we have the funding and you can find the cameras, why wait until we talk about it in October?
Okay, all right.
Cause it's 7,000 total, right?
I think so, isn't that right?
That's what they told me, yes.
So
I'll double check for it. Well,
two, so that's.
I want to make sure that there's no.
Yeah, we're only 2 weeks away. Go ahead and get us something with the just to make sure that that's all it is. But I think for the understanding, everybody's fine with it. But
Do you
We
still
don't
want
wanna-
to do your presentation?
I'm sorry?
You still want to do it?
I'll do it if you need me to.
It's good.
okay,
It will explain
Okay.
a little more for you guys.
okay.
It's not very long.
No, that's fine.
I mean, it's-
That's fine.
It is a PowerPoint, so it's probably 10 slides.
Okay. Be worth seeing. Okay.
Okay,
He just wants
thank you very much.
Well, you put it together, we should see it.
Yeah, if you took the time to do it. Thanks, guys.
Don't forget your bicycle, by the way.
I'll ride it if I can pull somebody over.
The tires are flat.
He's here the tires, but he's got a lot of hot air.
Okay, who's next? Plan Commission, wastewater and stormwater. Matt, I gotta find yours too.
What are we going to next?
Wastewater, Plan Commission, wastewater and stormwater.
From the city, do you want to start with the salary pay first?
Yeah,
Like we did with the,
Thank you again.
if I can find it.
because obviously that kind of, on our salary page, it breaks down basically all the utility plan commission as well as as well on that.
Okay, I'm going to say this for what it's worth. After looking at yours, both of yours, I'm gonna ask that we do what the other departments have done as far as the percentage. And unless there's somebody that you can say is either way above or way below, we settle at the 3%.
So, my opinion, I'm gonna speak from that, I would be okay with 3%. we talked about it briefly and bumped it up a little bit. But I do ask that if we do stay at 3% across the board, can we at least look at the two individuals that we have given to submit for the percentage that is requested? And then, John, you have meeting and I'll explain.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Part of the review process, evaluation process last year, some of the stuff that we required Brett and Marty to do was to obtain their Class B CDL certification along with their tanker endorsement. That is just one of the handful of things or few things that those gentlemen have taken on. They're both valued employees. The other thing, and probably the biggest thing in my mind is because we've had advertised for our position since Mike Ryle left. We've taken 3 applications. 2 of the applications we didn't feel were very qualified. We had a 3rd individual that was absolutely qualified, but it came down to various other things that he did not pass. We did not feel that it was appropriate to bring in just because of his past track record. And I'll just declare it wasn't criminal and it wasn't, anything like that. But so in lieu of bringing Brett and Marty up to the percentage that we are requesting, we also feel that there is a chance that we may have to increase the starting salary. Right now it's at $48,000, and if you'll notice in our budget, we left it at $50,000 just to give us a little bit of leeway. But we also didn't feel that having those 2 individuals at $49,000 and $51,000, if we did have to increase the starting salary, was fair to them given their tenure here of 5 years.
They've both been here at 5 years. And that was something else too that kind of took into consideration on my part, and Dwayne and I talked about is the starting salary was at $48,000. If we averaged out over the 5 years at if they got a 3% raise over 5 years, that puts them at roughly $55,000. So if you look at it over 5 years, based off of that 48, right now they would be under, that 3% each year. But, kind of reiterate what Dwayne said, a lot of it was them getting their CDLs, and just picking up some extra tasks. Something too, I don't know if you guys thought of, Dwayne said that, we've only received 3 applications with Whiteland. That's only half the story. We've actually lost Dean, so we're actually 2 employees short. And we advertised for that and didn't get anybody. So we can look at it, we've had 3 people over the last 3 years that have applied for 2 positions. We're not asking to replace basically that. We're not even asking to get back to the number where we were. We're actually still going to be an employee short from where we were 2 years ago. So.
Well, and when I first looked at this and I saw the new hire, that was the first thing I took out, because I forgot that Mike had left. And where you're different than what police and the fire are, you're not adding to, you're just replacing. So, and I don't, if we're willing to cut 1.5% off of every other employee and go back to 3, I don't have a problem at all with rewarding Marty and Brett if these guys feel that it's deserving.
Well, one of the things, and this is gonna go all the way back to our longevity bonuses and everything else, there have been substantial increases in raises within that department over the past 3 years. Whereas going back to normal increases from what I observe outside of this realm, 3%.
Yeah, but if you look at what those longevity bonuses are, they're not a percentage, they're just a set dollar amount that are not
It's on top of the
that much.
raise.
That's right. And I agree with that, but I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier when you asked if the fire department had an idea of what other municipalities our size are. And I can say unequivocally, you go right across the street, we're nowhere close.
Whiteland's starting
For
to
the-
pay for ours is 58. That's
Yeah.
what they're starting at.
Their starting pay for the same employees are at 58. So we're considerably below.
Which is probably one of the reasons why we're having a hard time filling it.
Yeah.
Well, because I would say what portion of the longevity bonuses that reoccur year after year are part of that particular raise amount.
What do you mean? You're saying
Yeah, I'm not-
3% should be less than 3%? Or?
Well, no, I'm talking about, you've got two individuals right here that are having a couple of substantials, okay? Brett and Marty.
Mhm.
Okay, and I know that it has to do with CDL, but you see, last year, simply by adding that, was more than 3%.
It was roughly 5. Because the longevity pay for both those guys is at 2%. And I think last year
Perfect.
we held at 3, right?
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, so then are you arguing it ought to be less now?
Well, I'm just saying that basically we set a standard at 3%, and what I'm looking at here is 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 10.86, 7.79.
Well, we're playing, like Dwayne had said, we're planning on cutting the 4.5s all down to 3.
Yeah, everybody's just going to 3 instead of 4.5.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So if you cut one,
Why
two,
isn't
three,
why isn't 1.5 coming off of Brett and Marty?
because if you take the amount that they're making now and you take 1.5 off, you're going to hire somebody in at more money than they're making right now. And they've been here 5 years because we're putting $50,000 in for a new hire. Because Marty
Are
is
they both that new?
5
Been here
years.
5 years.
We start an employee at 48,000, and Brett's been here 5 years. He's at 49.6 this year. So over 3 years, 5 years time, he's gotten $1,600 in raise.
Now, that being said, it's because when he started.
He started
obviously
less.
starting salary was less. but
Yes.
When we increased that starting salary, we did not make that difference up. for
Right.
him.
When,
Okay, that is a particular practice I'm not used to, because whenever we increase the base salary,
You can increase everybody.
there you go. Okay.
Does that
I
make
didn't understand that variable right there.
And I didn't either until you started asking the question, because I was not looking at that number, and until I looked at that number, said that doesn't make sense.
Until
So it
one of
does
the
make
guys said, we have a starting person that's higher.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, that's what you have to do to make up that difference and not let somebody pass somebody who's got 5 years. So that was an erroneous assumption on my part.
well, and it's also not lost that you've said, we need you guys to go get these certifications, I suppose so they can drive the big trucks, they can haul equipment around. They've gone and done that. I suspect they paid for it, but they went and did what they needed to do.
Well, that's why
increase
I
their
was saying
skills.
1.5 off of them, because the answer is yes. I agree with those.
'Cause you-
But no, the whole game changed.
So you're okay with it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So change everybody to 3% except for Brett and Marty.
Yes.
Right?
And then whatever they have on there as far as their prescribed
Right. And then
increase, yes, leave that as it is.
also 3%.
So all the way in the far right, there's part-time Kim. What happens there?
So that's, I wanted to iterate, I'll have to do my spreadsheet for my spending plan, because it's kind of out already. So this is something that, and tell me if I remember right, she's at, is it 15 or?
19,
Kim is at
19,968.
68.
No. By hours. So she's actually paid by the hours. She's actually paid, Kim is paid on an hourly rate.
Okay.
She did not get an increase last year.
So, and I will be honest, I believe that was a mistake on our part, when we did the salary ordinance. Cause I had put in for $1 an hour raise for her from last year, basically for 2025, and somehow I believe it got left out of the salary ordinance, and I was just made aware of aware of that. So she was at 16, I believe. That's why I went to basically 18 on it, talking with Melissa and things like that. Because originally I had put her at, I think it was 16.
Mhm.
And Melissa's brought that up to my attention that she hadn't received a raise. And
So she's going from what to what?
16 to $18 an hour.
How many hours does she work?
So basically, Melissa keeps her at 28 hours or less a week. They don't want to get to the 32-hour mark because then they're considered full-time, so she tries to have that little bit of leeway. So she tries to keep it. She originally was at 24, I believe, prior to this year, but they've kind of increased that as they've seen the need for it.
So it's a $2 an hour? I'm having a hard time.
So you went from
Well, 'cause we didn't
19
give her
to
one last year.
26.
Right, but I'm having a hard time making it to $2.
Oh.
Well, and I'm looking here, because, correct me if I'm wrong, current year 19, proposed 26.
I think that's,
It may be about there.
Okay,
I'm coming to about a $3,000 difference at $2 an hour and 28 hours a week.
yeah, they just said it's an
So
error.
I was saying, maybe my error on the Excel spreadsheet. So like, is it lower than what's there or more?
It's lower than 26.
Okay, well then.
John, did you say it was like 22?
$2,900 would be $2 an hour, 28 hours a week, 52 weeks.
So
Well,
what'd you
you'll make the correction.
Yeah.
This will come back in.
Yeah,
in
as
2
long as we
weeks.
agree to the $18 an hour.
Yeah, or
Well,
even,
see now, so
Andrew.
you're saying, I'll double check, so we're saying 18 an hour times 28,
Times.
or a week times 52. I'm
26.
26,208.
Yeah, so do I.
Yes, that's what
I was counting the difference. $2 an hour, but for 28
Well,
weeks.
figure $18 an hour.
I wasn't figuring the top line. I was figuring the difference.
Oh.
They've got a $6,200 difference. I think
Oh,
I think it's
Oh.
about, I think it's about
Okay.
half that.
Said, 24 hours a week, but now 28.
Gotcha.
Yes, I believe so, yes. So there was some increase in hours as well, worked. Okay, I see
Well,
what
you
you're
can
saying.
fix the math on the next version.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to. We don't.
I'm like, what?
But it
To deliberate on it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 26,203, because, and that gets split between sanitation and storm, because the only thing she does, she's in the utility office.
And that encompasses an hour
Yeah.
change as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Something else while we're on the salary thing, I'll just mention that we did kind of move some percentages of the way salaries are paid out.
So
As I know you had asked that question on there, why it was that way. A lot of that was again now with Cindy specifically, Kim's putting more hours in, so Cindy's spending more hours on like the planning and zoning side of things. So that's kind of where we flip-flop some things around there. It kind of helped out because with Bob not being there, she's actually taking a little bit more of the load work because he's not here. And we were able to kind of roll some of that salary his in there. That's why you won't see much of a staggering increase in planning commission, for a total increase or whatever. On a budget, the whole budget. But,
So are we gonna get like a Bob's position back to once Cindy retires and kind of?
So, obviously from the code enforcement side, that's obviously gonna be your guys' decision and all that stuff, because I know that's what Bob is doing, but as far as when it goes to like building inspection and stuff, we've actually contracted that out from the plan commission side of things. And so that's kind of taking the place of that. So as of right now, I think the only way that he would get replaced would be is if that's what you guys decide to do on the code enforcement. So.
And that, Joe seems to have a pretty good handle on that. I mean, I think everybody can find things they'd like to see that are a little bit better, everywhere. But at least if you were to go over and talk to him about what, they have going on, he's got a pretty clear, here's what we've written, here's what we've sent to Lee, and I think the only hiccup he's run into, Joe, I say, is they'll write somebody a ticket, they'll run in and pay the fine, and then within a month, it's right back the way it was, and the process starts over. But my understanding is they're not starting the process over. They're sending the tickets right to Lee again, asking for settlement. So it seems to be getting better. I know there's been some people that have, residents that have said they'd like to see a compliance officer, but I think if it's working,
Yeah.
why, you know? So, anything else on the salaries for Public Works? Okay.
Plan commission or?
I'm not finding one for Plan Commission.
So it's, I know at least in mine, it was the first page that printed out on the spending plan. I would say
I have spares here. Do you need a spare?
that, say if it's just one, I can give.
I got it.
I've got plenty of spares.
Okay. I don't know why, I don't.
I'm actually looking at the Excel document, I don't
That
see
one
it.
right there.
Thank you. Oh,
Do you have another?
Do you want another one?
Yeah, if you do you have one?
Say if not, $50, say if not, I can give them one of these and I
A
can
whole
look
fresh
off.
packet.
Thank you.
How come I didn't print mine off and you gave them nice binders and all that stuff?
No binders, just clips.
so, okay, as far as Plan Commission, your biggest increase is the professional services, and that is offset by Bob's salary, and that's like for the inspections.
Yep,
Things like that.
so yeah, that'll be there's a, kind of like a monthly stipend, I don't know what they call a stipend, I guess, but, for the inspector, that will pay for his plan review, all that stuff. And that'll also take into consideration some of the inspections. I know Angel and I have been working with, the powers be the state, I guess, on when we bring in revenue, so like per inspection, we're bringing in $150 per inspection. The inspector's charging us $75 per inspection, but we're trying to figure out how to, when we receive that money in, how we can also pay out of that same account so that basically we're not having to eat into that. But that'll help cover us till we kind of figure some of that out. I think worst comes to worst, we just have to do an additional appropriation if it really worst comes to worst on that.
Are we, on what we're charging for those, are we across the board comparable with everyone else, or are we still light, or?
So we've actually had two different people look at those fees and all that stuff, and we've actually changed them throughout the plan commission. I know you probably remember that. I think we had brought it to the council as well, but we are fairly comparable.
Okay.
So I don't think we're the cheapest, but we're definitely, not the highest.
Okay.
So we're right there.
Matt, with the plan commission here, are a lot of these drastic shifts due to what you were saying during the salary about, okay,
We'll say like, I think like on the recording secretary and clerk, that's Cindy. Obviously you see that went up 143%. That's not what her salary went up. It's just,
Right.
I think 70% of her salary is now being paid out of plan commission.
Yeah.
I think 20% out of maybe sanitation and 10%.
I just-
So,
this
yeah,
is
that
so
was-
extreme to only have a $6,000, and that technically is not really a 6.87%, which means it's not really a 6.87% increase in the overall budget, just
Right.
this.
It got moved.
Correct, it looks like it, plus you also lost Bob's salary out of it and things like that, so yeah, you're right, if his salary was there and things like that, we would have seen quite a bit higher one if we would have done that, but that's kind of one of the reasons, like I said, with Cindy kind of taking a little bit more responsibility on that side of things. I felt that was kind of a need to increase the percentage of salary out of there.
And wastewater and stormwater, we don't generally do anything with those, do we?
So we usually do through the thing. Obviously, it's not something that goes through the state, so it could be done whenever. Every year that I've been doing it, we've always gone over it. Obviously, you can see on wastewater, it's a 1.58% increase. And in stormwater, it's actually an 11% decrease. Again, a lot of that is shipping around where some salaries were paid out of, because you can see there is some items that, we have increased and things like that. I'll just point out one specifically is 386 I&I maintenance expenses. So we did the study with Westler and all that stuff up there in Raintree. Priority ones, I just got that back. I'm actually supposed to be having a meeting with them. I had a brief meeting with them on that to discuss kind of what the next steps are. I got the findings from all the results and all that stuff. They're projecting about $173,000 to fix what they consider priority one issues. Like I said, I'm still in the process of trying to work with them on what's our next steps to get this. So that's where you'll see $100,000 in there for I&I expense, and then I believe up at 312, I've got $30,000 set aside for projected engineering for the I&I project. So that was kind of one of the, a decent increase there. So.
Honestly, that looks like more you just move things around. 1.5% increase is nothing.
Right.
And the other one's a decrease, so.
That's what I saw too.
And something I also want to start doing moving forward is so obviously you see the sanitation 451 and other capital outlay. I think I emailed that out a while back, but I'll email it out again this week so you guys can see it. I update that every year, so that number will kind of change. It's based off of just different equipment, what the projected cost is, what the projected lifespan, and we try to save that back. I was spending, like when we have a pump go out, I would go in and I would spend that out of repair and maintain, where maybe I should have been taking it out of that, because that's part of those that's in that capital cost and things like that we're saving back. So I want to try to start doing that.
So have we moved on to utility now? Or we've moved on to utility? Or
Well, that's
sewer,
part, yeah,
sewer?
that's part of his stormwater and wastewater.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know if we'd moved on.
No,
to
we're
planning.
still there.
Planning, or we're on sewer?
Oh, no.
Sorry, John brought up, started talking about utilities, and
Well,
got me
yeah.
all excited.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions on planning?
No.
Okay.
No. I did have
Well,
a couple.
but they're all in the same line items. The only reason I did
Gotcha.
that.
Okay. I'm easily confused.
For size of dimension.
What?
You want to see the second side? Anyway,
They
that's
get
not
violent, don't they?
line 312, engineering and architecture, construction standard updates. What's that?
So currently, this actually we're split it 3 ways.
Right, I saw that.
It's construct sanitary, sewer construct standards. So someone comes in and puts a lateral in, we've got standard drawings, we've got standards that they have to meet. These new subdivisions come in, or anything that is being built in town, they've got construction standards. So it's updating those, and we redid them in 2000.
Well, yeah, 2019, and it really should be updated, no, 5 years.
Well, you're scratching an itch I've got based on that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So are you just talking about infrastructure, or are you talking about design standards on the homes that would go in too?
No, this specifically here. Now we can get into that other stuff if you would like. But specifically what's in the utility budget, there's 12,000 in sanitation and 12,000 in storm. Both to do those. He's actually got another 12,000 you'll see in NVH to redo our street standards as well. But no, it does not. It's not architectural standards.
This is here and there. I've actually thought about looking at other municipalities and their design standards for the homes, and maybe starting to mirror ours. And then I realized that I'd need to retire and do that full time.
I think because that has been brought up multiple times.
I'd like to do
Really between us and Lee and things like that, I wanted to try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I get what he says is, well, there's not much growth going on in New Whiteland.
Until there's 400 houses.
But why do we want to get caught with our pants down?
Right. No, I agree. I'd like to see us do that.
Here's what I'm going to say about this. I want that done. No matter whose department it comes from, and I'll tell you why. It pisses me off to no end to sit and have them say, well, we're going to give you really nice vinyl. And you go look at every other subdivision that Lennar is building, that Ryan is building, and every one of them is at least 25 to 50% brick for the same amount of money that they're charging for the houses.
So
And it's
may I
like,
make a suggestion, and I don't know if Matt was gonna go here too. Now, it's not something that we have budgeted in our line items here, but we do have a line item that is specifically designed for economic development. And it's that economic development lift. And next year, it's budgeted in there, I think was $100,000. You know, I think that's, we can research some prices and stuff at the beginning of the year and look at all that, but you're preaching to the choir on
So you're saying we'd go out and hire a vendor to do it, or?
Yeah, I think we have to hire my opinion is
Who's
hire
got
somebody to look at it.
Right.
everything else.
That way I don't think we want to do a study. I don't think that's at all. I think we need to look and compare, just exactly like you said. Some of the other architectural standards that some of these other municipalities have incorporated.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we keep them all, but we go through and update
And
ours
decide,
so that
yeah,
when
and decide, yeah.
and if we do have a new development, because I'm here to
We
tell
will.
you, it's coming.
We will.
If we wanna take it, it'll be there, I promise.
Well, and to have
Please do,
somebody
yeah.
come in from a builder or a contractor and say, well, 3 times, this guy said, well, New Whiteland doesn't have building standards.
Well, and I can tell you, and that frustrated me. I believe, if I'm mistaken, you tell me if I'm wrong, those were updated in 1989.
Right.
So that's the last time they were updated.
I say let's do that, whatever the best path is. I even thought about gathering 5 municipalities, laying them all down and deciding what ours would be. But if you guys are saying that's not the way to do it, then let's figure out the way to do it and do it.
What we can have somebody look at that, because they can pull from a lot of other things and things like that. I mean, if it comes out to be an astronomical cost, then, we'll try to work and maybe go from another way.
And obviously you guys have a day job already. If you could have some numbers on that in 2 weeks or at the next meeting, I'd really like to see that happen. Maybe you can't, but
Well, I mean, worst comes worst, even if,
How about by
instead of
November?
going into that,
by November, fine, yeah.
How about November meeting?
I mean,
Because I
let's-
know you got stuff going on.
2 weeks is
Well,
awful fast, I get
we're
that, but
getting
I'd
into
like to see
hunting
that.
season too, so.
I'd like to see that near the top of the list, because I don't want to be in that.
The E&B's already done enough of that crap. But anyway, he's on.
Okay, I interrupted, I got you.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm actually
Thank you.
glad that you
Appreciate
brought
that.
that up, so. I guess questions on any of the other utility stuff?
Other professional services, line 314, going from 20 to 60.
Yes.
What's PM services?
So if you look at PM services, to answer your specific question is on all of our equipment that we have, our lift stations, blowers, all that stuff. I bring in the manufacturer one time a year. They go over all the equipment. I started this year. You can see I'm actually negative. I spent 69% more than what I actually budgeted in this year. A lot of that has to do with it's not so much that we had that big of an increase. I've changed up when I write purchase orders. I was always afraid to go negative, right? But it's hard for me to track where I'm spending money if, okay, I go through and I write a contract to have that gone through, and then I have some other things done with it. Well, I'm like, yeah, I'll write that purchase order out of repair and maintain. Where now I'm taking it out of probably the appropriate. So that's kind of, I think, where the biggest thing is if you really were to go back and look over the years, that number should have increased.
So if you're moving it to there, is it coming out of somewhere else?
So yes, so like if you look at it, now I didn't deduct that much more. It would look like more, but like if you look at sanitation 361 where I had 115, I dropped it $10,000 to 105, but that's also me including paying for a portion of doing some overlay work inside the plant. So we're kind of projecting that to be somewhere closer around $30,000. So if that was gone, then that would also be dropped out there. So.
Line 6201, was it 157? You're not proposing a change, but there's 157,000 in the difference column?
Can you tell me a number, 62?
381.
381.
Bond
Oh, I'm
payments.
sorry, 381. I'm sorry, bond payments.
I'm like, where's 6?
Sorry.
So we
The
got
bond
ask me
payment.
that question again, I'm sorry.
So it's at 157,000. You're asking for 157,000, but there's 157,000 in difference. The
So
difference column.
I'm gonna have Angela, you help me out here. So that is our bond payment for the
Right.
SRF loan that we have.
But it looks like you're saying it's going to go up 157,000, and it's not.
Should that have just been a zero?
No, that must have been, yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
we're the
Matt, I
difference.
think that you did these yourself.
I may have fat fingered it, I don't know.
That should have just been a zero
So
because,
yeah, that probably should have just been a zero. No, so it's basically staying the same,
Okay.
157,000, so I will adjust that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know on the, so, well, you don't send those to the state, I was gonna say. Hopefully you do.
okay, so
Yeah, we
my,
sent those.
my question then is if you add all those figures up
Uh-huh.
and you take the 157 out of that category, does that lower that?
Well, the percentage, no, because it says 0%, but yeah, the amount.
I was gonna say, your percentage will stay the same thing.
Okay.
Because the percentage is based on
The other
26
figure.
requested in the 25 budget.
All right,
Oh,
So-
that's right, because I was going to do the math, but I see what you're saying.
yeah,
So yes, I will change that as well.
okay. Yeah, there's only $21,000 difference in that entire budget.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
That's real good.
So new
Well, I don't know,
equipment,
if you just took ours over and put it there, or if you, I don't know. if you
Which
typed it
line?
in. We'll get it out.
454.
450.
New equipment's going from 50,000. You've already spent about 59, and it's going to zero.
Yeah, so basically what we did with that is, I think that's where we purchased, the new vehicle, we're not asking for any new
Gotcha,
equipment
gotcha.
this year.
Okay.
So,
Cool. You're the only one.
well, I think we're sitting fairly well, I think right now, so.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Any questions on the stormwater? That one actually went down 11%.
Right, I
Okay.
saw the shifts on that one. I don't know.
So that, again, the majority of that was salaries, because the stormwater budget isn't very high anyways.
Did you double check you didn't fat finger anything with that one?
Who knows, it's hard to say.
He's only got one fat finger.
Right.
Okay. Are we done with Matt? Let's move to properties, parks, and MBH.
At least I caught us up on some time a little bit there.
Yeah.
Hey, we're done with you.
Which one do you wanna do first? You wanna knock out parks?
Sure.
Okay. So, I'll just tell you, parks stayed the same, there was no increase there. Yes, I do have funds left in there, but, some of that was, from the improvements and stuff that we did at Proctor Park. And then I just kept the budget the same. The other stuff is, I mean, it's, you just never know when something's gonna break or something's gonna tear up that you're gonna need to replace.
What are we? Oh, is this paving the same one?
Which,
361.
in,
Parks. Repair and maintenance 361. You've got 15,000 for wastewater treatment plant paving.
I don't think you're in parks.
Yeah, it should be that.
I think
He's
you're,
in properties.
properties is the
There's a break
second
right
part.
there.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
You're gonna say you had a really big fat finger if that was the case.
Yeah.
I was expecting 2 pages. Never mind.
Just out of curiosity, what's the paving at the plant?
So the wastewater treatment plant is in desperate need of some attention for our parking lot, and drive, not necessarily the drive coming in, but the lot itself is really getting in bad shape. And I think you even had some money in there where we were splitting it. Did you put it in there?
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Okay, so we would wind up splitting the cost on some of those repairs.
Okay, that's the biggest thing I see, and most of that's been offset.
Well, and I will also tell you, part of that dollar amount is lemon brush disposal fees. So this is a negotiable item, that $5,000 is a negotiable item.
Which line?
That is gonna be line item, same line item, 361, repair, maintenance, and properties.
Okay.
I feel the town needs to start a lemon brush program.
I agree.
That $5,000 is probably minuscule to what it's truly going to be needed at the end of it. We have nothing right now, and I've gone over and talked about multiple different things. I talked about looking at leasing a grapple truck, so we just pick it up at the curbside and then take it out to McCarty Mulch. But then you're looking at expense to lease or expense to purchase of that piece of equipment. Ultimately, what I am leaning towards right now, just to get the program started, to feel it out, see where it goes, is the first week of every month, I would like to open up the wastewater plant for people to bring their limbs and brush down there. If there was even some possibility of looking at possibly charging a small fee to where they come up here, they pay a small fee, they get a ticket, and they come down there and give it to one of us and drop it. Because it's me at my house, I'm a resident, not in New Whiteland, but I'm a resident. And, I can set my stuff out at the curb, but I don't feel it's right. It's just a fellow other municipality that I don't do. But there is definitely a need for moving this direction.
Yeah.
So, that means somebody would have to be on site down there 24,
And generally, there is always somebody down there, whether that's Dale finishing up lab, or us being in the office, or the guys in and out. That's the benefit, because our gate stays closed. That's the benefit of having a ticket, because now the girls in the office can call one of us and say, hey, there's somebody coming down on such and such date dropping stuff off. It's just nothing set in stone, it's just thought process, and that's why there's that additional possibility.
And I also think you said, because you wanted to do it for a week's time, before, I think most of you have been in town for a while, so we used to do it. We used to allow people to bring it, they could bring it any day of the week, during our operating hours. It became a pain because there wasn't anybody down there all the time, and we were feeling that we were getting dumped on by
everybody.
We were getting dumped on by commercial companies and things like that. So we stopped it. Plus, Greenwood stopped bringing in the tub drivers for us. If we do it, see how it goes. If we just do it the first week of the month, now we're only having to really pay attention for this week of the month. If we see that it's a growing need, maybe we open it longer and things like that.
Yeah, your cost is not in taking the limbs and the brush. That's not the cost. The cost is the disposal fees, because it has to be loaded up some way, shape, or form and hauled elsewhere, because we can't.
Right.
Our process is right now is we burn it. Okay. Well, we're getting ready to have a bunch of houses within 200 feet of the wastewater plant, and we're not going to be able to burn stuff anymore.
Would it make sense, I'm just thinking out loud, because I had a neighbor come by my house that lives on DeVille complaining about one of her neighbors that had this big brushy bush that was actually extending out into the street. It was dangerous, and it was on a curb. And I took my dog for a walk over there, and I had to walk way out into the middle of the street, and I couldn't see if there was oncoming traffic, so if somebody been there, I'm screwed. She came and complained. I let Joe know about it. Within a week's time, that entire tree is cut down. But it's setting in a big pile about this high right next to the people's driveway. And I don't think that they know that we're not going to come by and pick it up. And there's another one right across the street from them, same type pile on DeVille. Would it make sense? Because I don't want that to become a dumping ground. Okay? What if they were to call in or come get a ticket? And instead of us doing it, we get with a contractor, a tree trimming service. And, okay, on this particular week, there's these 5 people that have requested and paid to have you come and clean up their brush. You think we could find somebody like that would have enough spare time to, because now we don't have to worry about Greenwood or Whiteland or anybody else coming over and dumping their stuff. It's not on our property. And if we tell the contractor, these 5 people you need to go to,
Yeah.
and they get paid for it.
Like I said,
And
it's,
you're talking cleaning up like a pile that, like they've already.
It's set out like those are sitting out at the street. No, they're not going to trim their trees. If they want their trees trimmed, they do that on their own.
yeah.
But if they've got a brush pile,
So we actually thought about doing something very similar to that. We thought about getting a wood chipper
Mhm.
and doing that on a recurring monthly basis.
Mhm.
To buy a decent sized wood chipper, you're looking $60,000-$80,000.
yeah,
That's an expensive thing. But then there again, it falls back into the similar situation of the leaf machine. You pay that money. Now, granted, this piece would get used more than the leaf machine, but the leaf machine doesn't bring in any money.
right.
You know, it's all provided. It's a free service and a costly expense for New Whiteland.
Right.
To go out there and do and operate when you're running 3 guys. As soon as that truck leaves the shop, you've got 3 guys on it.
Mhm.
So I'm open to options, but I think it's something that town needs to look into. I think it's a big need, especially if we're going to start enforcing, you know, some of the rules and regulations. We've got people right over here that were asked to clean their stuff up, and they brought it over to community cleanup day.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But now we give them an opportunity more than one time a year.
Yeah. I mean, my thinking is, if me as the home, if I had that brush pile that's sitting on DeVille right now, it would be worth $25 to me because they can put it out with their trash on heavy trash.
Mm-hmm.
If they cut it all into 3-foot lengths,
Yeah.
bundle it all up. If
Who
you look
wants
at
to
that
do
pile,
that?
it's not worth the time and effort.
Yeah.
If you said, hey, for $25, XYZ Tree Trimming Company will come around this week and they'll pick up this trash pile and you don't have to mess with it. We don't have to mess with it. All we're going to do is we're going to give out a ticket or whatever, or put them on a schedule. I mean, to me, it would be worth getting a hold of a tree trimming company that has a chipper, because then we don't have the expense of the chipper, the truck, the people, nothing.
Yeah.
All we are is the middleman.
Yeah.
And even if we don't make money on it, you know, if we charge $25 and the whole $25 goes to them, okay. We're providing a service that we don't have to administer.
Yeah, I'm fine with exploring options.
I mean, I think it'd be at least be worth asking somebody, hey, is this something you'd have an interest in?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
You guys will go out and buy a chipper now.
Well, I've already.
No, for
talked to the
yourselves,
guy
I mean.
To bring it in and do all that, and just like what you said. I didn't hear what you said.
He said, yourself will buy it.
You guys go buy a chipper on your own.
Yes.
Anything else in properties? No? Okay. MVH.
There were no changes in Darksville property.
No,
Okay.
there's nothing.
So one thing I will tell you is, and I'll discuss with you how you wanna handle it, when they drop that down 3%, there are gonna be changes in properties, cause there's salaries to
Okay,
it.
yeah.
So, but I'll figure out,
Yeah.
if you want me to change it on our sheet, or if you just want to, okay. Good, thank you, so I don't get my fat finger in there.
Yeah.
On your MVH.
Oh, and just so you know, on your NVH one, the ones that are highlighted darker, those are, NVH restricted.
Okay.
It's just a way for me to see that a little easier.
Your traffic control restricted 235. You're putting 20,000 in for line striping and stop bars.
Yes.
Please tell me you're going to do Tracy Road again.
Well, that's the intent. So as part of the paving project, Tracy Road from 31 to Park will get done.
Okay, I'm talking about the other side as well. this side.
Well, that's all part of it, and it's stuff that we're gonna have to keep up on a yearly basis because now we're gonna have more of Whiteland Road.
Yeah.
To take care of, so that's what that is for, is starting to plan for that process.
Okay. Because I did, when we had, oh shoot, what's the name of that? Indiana Traffic
Yeah.
came and did it before. I was very disappointed. Not necessarily what they did, but it disappeared quick. And I asked them about it, and they said for the amount of traffic you have, that's pretty normal. I was surprised.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I mean, it may get to a point where it has to be done every 6 months.
Yeah.
Which is,
It's gonna have to at least be done once a year
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Cause it's been what, 3 since they did it?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. And it's an expense, but you know, I'm coming over here tonight. There's some lady that was wanting to turn into the gas station over there, and she's in my lane.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a double line here that you can almost see.
Yeah.
Almost.
Is that number your total NVH, the 343,275? That is the number that I gave you that Janet said you had to spend?
Yes.
So when Janet was helping me, she said that total number he's spending on NVH, that 343,275, she said that's how much he has to budget with, and that's what he stayed with. And I just wanted
Okay.
to point that out, that he's.
Yeah, so, and
That's-
that's part of why there's a overall increase, because last year, it's the same thing, that's what we were told we could budget was
Okay.
312, and that's what it is.
And that's pretty much a set amount that we don't,
Had no control.
we have no
Right,
control, and we
it's
don't go in and make cuts. They tell us what we have to spend.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Anything on properties, parks, or MBH? Okay. You guys are done. Thank you. Let's move on to town budget. And just cut it all out. So which part of this is yours?
Real quick,
Yes.
gentlemen, I am out of the office tomorrow and Friday. I'm gonna have a proud dad moment here. My youngest daughter, she got accepted into the University of Alabama, so we are headed down tomorrow to do a college visit and all that good type of stuff, so.
That's cool. She's excited.
Yes, very excited.
I think they should have gone to opposite ends of the earth. Oh wait, they did.
Okay.
Okay, do you have separate pages for the town budget, or where?
It's called admin. 'Cause
I
in
saw,
the-
I saw that.
In the SB or the gateway documents, it's called an admin.
It's just a single
Do
page,
you
right?
have one?
Somewhere.
'Cause
I saw one.
I have to.
I've got it. Other budgets.
Do you want me to give you one of my spares?
If you don't mind, I'm sure it's here somewhere. I had all this organized and. Thank you. I'll find it as soon as we're done. I just had this.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, well.
It's right here.
Melissa's salary increased on this end, that office manager, because like they said, the percentages changed. Hers was 25% out of my budget, now it's 50%.
It's how much?
50%
Okay.
of hers. Hers comes out of 4 different places. So, and then, I'm trying to see what else. Some of them are just little increases, like, well, the solid waste removal went up quite a bit, but also we are going to collect that much more. So that really isn't a true,
Oh, so we do have a new contract at 29,000 higher than the old one?
well, we're gonna have more houses and,
Yeah.
so we have to like pay the bill, but then the
Right.
houses
But
pay.
then we bill and yeah,
Right,
so it's a
right.
pass-through.
And then most of the other stuff is little increases, the telephone, because we switched over to Ring Central, there was a period of time that we were still paying for MetroNet telephone, and then we had to get
was the legal services, is that primarily Lee?
Yes.
Okay.
We have used him a lot with the housing addition and all the other stuff.
And what I've done the past 2 or 3 years is about this time of the year, usually Planning Commission, NVH, or other categories, they run out of their legal services money, and then I end up covering it from mine, so.
Okay.
So I think I really didn't have any questions. The only thing I had was a solid waste, and he answered that. But I think we decided 7,000 is gonna come out of your line 443 for the flock cameras.
Yes, on the other equipment, I've had that every year, just kind of there because, well, when we needed these Ring Central, actually that amount that we spent there, I took that out of there, the 3,690. I think I paid for the equipment, the new phones, out of that line. So it's just kind of, when the town needs something like that, then I use that line. And yes, so we have whatever's left out of that. If we go ahead and do the flock cameras, I can take it out of that line this year.
Yeah, if we could do them this year, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, especially my additional.
Yeah, and then he can, yeah, absolutely. And then, have they found him yet?
I don't think so, because it would have been all over the news. They
Wow.
did.
That's scary.
Yeah, he's actually was my neighbor directly across the street.
Is it?
from me. Yeah. So we're all kind of sad about that, like on my street. For sure.
Any changes or comments about the town budget? I think we're good then. Well, since there's no public here, we won't have it open to the public. Since it's just us, and we're talking about the budget, there is one thing I would like to remind everybody. We are not paying anybody to be our town manager. We're saving a ton of money in that respect. And we're putting it on the shoulders of basically 2 of our department heads and our clerk treasurer to do the town manager's job. A lot of what the town manager does, and Missy. So when we go through these budgets and we talk about stuff like salaries and things like that, and neither of those guys asked for any more money than anybody else got, I would just like us to keep in mind that neighboring towns are paying in the neighborhood of $100,000 a year plus for somebody to do the same thing that we're splitting between 4 people and are doing an admirable job. So, not a big deal, just something I wanted to remind us. So, anything else on budgets or anything else you want to bring up? Okay, being no other business, we are adjourned.
Will someone be locking up the,
I can lock up.
okay, I'll try to hurry, I better grab
You're
my
fine.
phone.
So, have you got this here?
Yeah, I'm gonna come get that.
So how long did you actually dance in the rain Saturday?
Too long, because I was worn out.
You looked like you were drowned.